You know, based on 50 years of experience following Buck Perry's teachings, I had made a calculated decision today. Based on my observations of the weather the past several days and what it was today, I figured there's going to be a pretty good movement of fish. So I wanted to make sure that I was on the water today. But uh, Buck, one of the things you learn from studying Buck Perry was fish will generally make a couple of move sometime during the day. And based on my observations, I was betting on that there'd be a good movement of fish in the middle of the day. So usually if the fish move in the morning, they won't move good in the middle of the day at all, but they will later on that afternoon. But if they don't move in the morning, they will generally move pretty good in the middle of the day. So I was betting on the middle of the day. I was betting on it to be a good movement during the middle of the day. And the fact that it was pouring down a cold rain that morning, that may have helped me make the decision or to bet on the middle of the day movement. But at any rate, I should have went out early in the morning just to make sure you catch the movement, but I didn't. I reckon I let the cold wind and rain and maybe a little common sense or old age influence me into not going out in the morning. So I went for the afternoon, or middle of the day rather. And that fish that I caught immediately, as soon as I got started fishing, I thought, oh boy, yeah, I was right. Well, I was wrong. What had happened, that fish that I caught early was no doubt a straggler left over from an early morning movement. But I caught him right off the bat, and that was probably just a fluke. But anyway, I continued to fish, and the longer I fish, the more I become convinced, man, you screwed up. You should have been out this morning, but you weren't. You stayed at home. You should have been out in the morning. But I didn't. And the longer I fished, the more convinced I was that I should have kicked myself in the rear and got out here on the lake a whole lot earlier than what I did. But as Buck says, live and learn. Nobody's ever can call himself an expert, because an expert knows it all, and I've proved to myself I certainly don't know it all. Now, for anybody that's watched any of my fishing videos, you know that I call myself a spoon plugger. And I've explained on several of them exactly what a spoon plugger is. So for anybody that might have missed it, let me give you a definition of what a spoon plugger is. A spoon plugger is a person who goes about his fishing in an orderly, systematic manner in order to eliminate the unproductive water in order that he can arrive at the fish in the shortest possible period of time. Now, that word spoon plugger was coined by Buck Perry back in the 1940s. And Buck is the father of spoon plugging. He's the father of all modern fishing. He's the father of structure fishing. Without Buck and his findings, places like Bass Pro and these tournaments, major tournaments and all that stuff, that wouldn't exist. It all owes its existence to the discoveries made by Buck back in the 1940s. And Buck explains that 98% of the water never holds a fish. So if 98% of the water never has a fish, you need to eliminate that water so you can spend your time fishing into 2% of the water that does hold a fish. You can imagine how unproductive that would be if you're spending your time fishing in that 98% of water that hardly ever has a fish in it. That's just not very productive at all. Now, like I said, Buck Perry revolutionized fishing. I mean, he's totally changed fishing around. And all, like I said, all modern fishing owes its existence to this man. But very few fishermen today even heard of him, which is quite a shame. But anyway, Buck, we're fortunate that Buck put his discoveries down in book form, where anybody could learn how to catch any kind of fish anywhere in the world at any time of the year. And I, by hook or crook or by fate or whatever, I got one of the very first books that Buck ever put out. It changed my fishing life, period. I used to go down to the lake, and half the time, more than half the time, most of the time when I went to the lake, I'd catch my limit. Now, notice what I said. I said I'd catch my limit. I didn't say I'd catch the state limit. I said I'd catch my limit. And my limit generally was one. If I caught him on my first cast, I might as well go home. Or I could stay and fish all day and wind up catching one. But Buck had a lot of sayings. Let me give you a few of the things he said. Buck said that mapping is the key to interpretation. In other words, you got to map the lake. You got to know what's down there. You got to know what's on the bottom. Then when you know what's on the bottom of that lake, then you can interpret how the fish are going to relate to those features. So mapping is the key to interpretation. Then interpretation is key to knowledge. Well, knowledge is what catches fish. You got to know how a fish moves on a seasonal and a daily basis. You got to know how he relates to structure. And structure, as defined by Buck, is different than what's defined by most pros that you see on TV. To most people on TV, they throw the word structure around and other words that Buck coined to put with his discoveries on fishing. To most fishermen, structure is anything that's not water. But Buck, structure, the father of structure fishing, structure is, as defined by Buck Perry, structure is a feature of the bottom of the lake or the body of water, different to the surrounding areas, that the fish can relate to, see and relate to. And this feature of the bottom absolutely must lead all the way from the deep water to the shallow water. That's what structure is, okay? So, knowledge is the key to fishing success, and then fishing success, according to Buck, is the key to happiness. Can't really argue with that. And he said another thing, that whenever you go up to a body of water, you don't have to worry about it, because if you've never seen that body of water before, you know exactly where those fish are, because there's only three places they can possibly be: shallow, deep, or somewhere in between. Now, I know a lot of that sounds foolish, but it's actually true. So, anyway, like I say, we're all fortunate. Buck did put all that knowledge down in a book form. And after getting his book and studying the book and applying it, you can't just look at it and read it one time. You have to study it and apply it. And one of the things he said in there said, if you keep following these instructions, if you become a spoon plucker, you're going to catch more fish than you thought was in the water. He was right. My fish catch went from being one to just multitude, thousands of fish. Thousands of fish. And then so I decided that I wanted to go meet the man personally and thank him for all the fish that I'd caught that I never would have caught without him. So I go over to Hickory, North Carolina to thank him for that. And at that time, Buck had just finished Buck Perry's Complete School of Fishing. That's a 9-volume set. And I bought one of the very first sets that he had available. And when I was trying to thank Buck for all the fish I'd caught, he kept telling me, but you had to interpret it. And I kept trying to explain to him, Buck, all these fish that I've caught, I never would have caught without you. He kept saying, but you had to interpret it. Then finally, he said, listen, if you ever try to teach this stuff, you're going to find out exactly what I mean. Because then whenever he signed my book, my complete book of fish, or complete course of fishing, in the front of it, he said, I don't know what's the hardest to do, to teach people the truth about the Lord or the truth about fishing. That's how he signed it. And it's true. In spite of the fact that Buck, all the knowledge that it takes to catch any kind of fish anywhere in the world at any time of the year is on the printed page that you can get to this day from buckspoonplugs.com. You can order it from Scott Jenkins, the guy who now has buckspoonplugs.com. Buck died in 2005, and but you can still get that printed material, and we are exceedingly fortunate that his number one instructor, a man named Don Dixon, put up on YouTube the Buck Perry's Complete School of Fishing. So you, as a fisherman, can sit on your couch drinking a beer and learn how to catch any kind of fish anywhere in the world at any time of year. That's knowledge. And Don Dixon will impart to you that knowledge, and it's free and it's on YouTube. But I say the best thing you can do is to get Buck's book and the Complete School of Fishing and go along with Don as he's teaching this. But anyway, Don will teach you the Buck Perry Complete School of Fishing. And Buck will tell you how fish react. In the 1940s, he figured out what made a fish tick. He figured out how the fish reacts to weather and water conditions, and how he changes his habits according to what the weather and water is. And if you will learn how a fish really reacts to weather and water conditions, you will find that the fishermen react to weather and water in the exact opposite manner that the fish do. In other words, prior to this day that you see here on the video, this rainy day, I'd been out fishing several days, and it was clear bluebird skies. I mean, beautiful weather, beautiful weather. And every water skier and jet skier and wave boat and party boat and float boat and everybody and their brother was on the lake. And literally, it's all you can do to try to keep yourself from being swamped if you've got a fishing boat like I've got. It's tough. Everybody and their brother, including the fishermen, of course, in their big bass boats, they're all out. Everybody's out in force. The lake is churned. It's tore to pieces. Everybody's out. Well, then along comes today. Now, what today is it's the leading edge of a cold front. And one thing you want to learn from Don Dixon or from Buck Perry's printed material, that successful fishing hinges around the cold front. As soon as that front goes through and that sky pops out, that's the worst day you could possibly go fishing. It'll be those clear bluebird skies with high puffball clouds, little light breeze or breezy. Everybody, oh my gosh, what a beautiful day to go fishing. They all go fishing, and you know where the fish went? To deep water. Shut their mouth and went to deep water. They're shut mouth. And all the fishermen on the lake could be saying, my gosh, what a beautiful day. And we didn't catch a thing. Then the day like this comes along, which is the best, the leading edge of that cold front. That's going to be your stormy weather, your dark skies, rain, that sort of a situation. That's the kind of a day that a fish loves. That's when they are most likely to go shallow. But that's the kind of a day that most fishermen stay home. And on this day, when I was out on the lake, it was what a wonderful welcome change. There was not a single boat on the whole lake, not one, until late in the day when the front actually passed through. The rain quit, the sun started coming out, and I headed home. There were two boats that came out on the lake, one pleasure boat and one fishing boat. So most of the fishermen, while the fish are up and active, they're at home. But when the fish are inactive and out in deep water with shut mouth, the fishermen are on the water. So the fish and the fisherman react to weather and water in the exact opposite and they act in the exact opposite manners. When the fish were up and active, and I was expecting these fish to really be active today, and I was planning on making a killer catch, because I had still made pretty good catches even in spite of all those conditions. It was still I still made a good catch on today when I know that the fish should be up. I should make a good catch. And at the very first of this video, I did. It took me 1 minute and 2 seconds. But what had happened, the fish had made they'd made a movement that morning, and as Buck will tell you, if the fish move in the morning, they will move again probably late in the afternoon. If they did not move in the morning, they'll probably move in the middle of the day. Well, I'd bet that they would move in the middle of the day, so I go down in the middle of the day. And what had happened, I had picked up stragglers that it was left over in the shallows from that early morning movement. Now here I am late in the afternoon. The fishing is picked up. I start catching a few, and man, I looked up, and 3/4 of a mile away or so, there is a school of hybrids busting shad on the surface. I mean, they were all over the place. But when they come up like that, you need to get to them quick, because they generally don't stay up long. So I've got my eyes fixed on them. They're busting all over the place. Now, when I get up to them, they go down. Water's just slick and calm. No fish on the surface. So I started trying to locate some by jigging, throwing a blade bait around. And boy, this was one time when it'd be a nice, fat, rich uncle of mine, which I don't even have an uncle, so I certainly don't have a rich one, would buy me that live scope. Boy, if there was ever a time when live scope would be handy, it'd be right now. Where you could flip that thing around and you could see where they actually are, because they're out in open water. They're relatively close to a structure, but they're out in open water. They'd be hard to locate. But as luck would have it, they did come back up a couple of times. And I was able to make a really wonderful catch, surface fishing, catching big fish on the surface. But as also luck would have it, my camera gave me a fit. Like I said, it rained all day. I normally run 3 cameras, but I only got 1 camera that's absolutely 100% waterproof, and it poured down rain all day, so I just run that 1 camera. And it gave me a fit. It would freeze up, and it would quit running, and first one thing and another. And wouldn't you know, as soon as I get into this school, and there must be an acre of fish breaking all over the place, all around, my camera quit. So I'm sitting there in the middle of the lake, having some of the best fish you could ever imagine, surface fishing, catching good fish on the surface, having a blast. And I did not get 1 second of it on video, because that cotton picking camera would not keep running. I fooled with it several times. I changed cards, I changed batteries, I did everything I could think of, and it just kept shutting off or just not recording. So I know that these fish are only going to be up for a very short period of time. So I had a choice. I could keep trying to get that camera to working and maybe get it done in time to catch a few fish, or I could say to heck with the camera and start catching fish. And I love to make the videos and try to encourage people to learn how to be a successful fisherman on a consistent basis. And I love to go back, and when I just sit around the house and can't do anything else, I'll go pull up one of these videos, look at it, and I'll catch those fish again. But at this time, I said, it's a choice. Either you can try a video and you can catch fish. guess what I did? I decided to catch fish. So I literally sat right there and had a fantastic afternoon of catching good fish. Now, the fish were breaking today. That don't happen all the time, but the water, if you'll notice, the water is calm. It's just got a little ripple on it. This was the first time I'd seen that kind of condition in weeks because there's so much boat traffic. This lake is so rough. You just generally won't catch the fish breaking. In other words, it needs a calm, flat surface where the fish can actually really see the herd, that school of bay fish, to the surface and start busting them. Well, yeah, they're still feeding, of course, down under, and that's what I've been catching through trolling and all that. But surface activity you just don't see. You need a measure of fairly calm water. And this was the first calm day I'd seen in I don't know when. And lo and behold, luck struck. I mean, luck struck me up one side and down the other. And I got into a good school of good fish, even though there is absolutely nothing to show for it on film. But nevertheless, I had a good day of fishing. And so after that bit of activity was over, I went back to jigging and trying to locate some down deep. And of course, I never did. There again, that rich uncle's live scope would sure come in handy. I ain't holding out too much hope for that. But I was not able to locate them again. Like I said, they're roaming out in open water, and that can be extremely hard to locate. But anyway, to catch fish on a consistent basis, regardless of what the weather conditions are, you can make a catch. You can do that if you got the knowledge of how the fish move, how they react to local weather and water conditions. And though I had missed it today, I expected a good movement early in midday. It didn't. It happened in the mid-morning and late afternoon. I should have went all day, but I got lazy and relied on a little bit of experience, and I said, no, I'm going to go in the mid-afternoon and catch the mid-afternoon movement. But anyway, do yourself a favor. Go to Don Dixon Fishing on YouTube, where you can learn how to catch any kind of fish, anywhere in the world, at any time of the year, on a consistent basis. Do yourself that favor. You will not regret it. That'll be the best thing you ever did for your fishing career. And hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk soon.